Hello, thank you for joining me. We have a guest today. Her name is Aureal Williams. She believes in. Hold on for a second, I have to introduce my song. Oh, there she is. She's calling. So we will start now without introducing the song. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, Shroda. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So I was just talking about you and then you called, so perfect. Thank you for joining me on Love, Forgive, Live podcast. And of course, for our audience, this is a good friend. We spoke and I was completely aware that she's a sister. So I will have her introduce herself. I don't think I'll be able to do enough justice. But what I learned from talking to her is that she's definitely a kindred spirit. We both believe in the same belief system and that we are all here to love one another and to live in our purpose. And to know that we are all connected beyond what we see with our eyes. And we are evolving faster than we could ever imagine. But what makes me believe that we are on the same path is that she's had this inkling since she was a child. And that's where I would like her to start and take this away. Introduce yourself, Miss Aureal Williams.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. I'm thrilled to be here with you and with your audience.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm an intuitive. I work with astrology, particularly deep space astrology.
Mm-hmm.
I have written a book called 5D, Ordinary Descriptions of an Extraordinary Shift.
Yes.
And I second everything that you said in the beginning, and I would like to add that we're here to love one another.
Yes.
However, my direct experience is that we have to start by loving ourselves.
Yes.
And by forgiving ourselves.
Yes.
And that is really hard.
Yes.
That is really hard.
Yes. And like I spoke to you the first time we spoke, and I told you the premise of this podcast, the name, love, forgive, live, living in the purpose, and the reason why we're here. So it's powerful that
Yes.
we attracted each other in this space. And it's powerful even beyond my imagination about how you recognize this pattern in our world.
That is so interesting that you chose those words, Rhoda, because that's what it is. It's pattern recognition.
Yes.
You know, my background is in nursing, and nursing has this process called nursing theory.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a nursing theorist who I really followed her work. Her work guided my nursing practice.
Mm-hmm.
And her name is Margaret Newman, and her theory is health as expanding consciousness.
Yes.
And what that is pattern recognition. We have to recognize the patterns.
Yes.
And that's where it really started for me. You say in my childhood, and absolutely. And then when I was a teenager, and I noticed the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, the moon is one of our greatest mothers.
Yes.
She has been in our sky, lighting our way since before humanity. And,
Yes.
you know, she is such a great teacher
Mm-hmm.
that we can look to, and what she gives us is pattern.
Yes.
And if we can plug into that pattern, we can feel the cycle of rest and movement.
Yes.
And I think that's what's grounded in loving ourselves. We tend in our society, particularly the Industrial Revolution,
Mm-hmm.
the Industrial Revolution imprinted such a trauma. They try to make us feel that our bodies are machines, and they're
Yes.
not.
No, we are not.
And follow nature, the rhythms of nature, the cycles of the moon, the flow of the moon, the building and disseminating or dissolving light of the moon. These can be guidelines in our practice of loving and forgiving and living.
Yes. I agree completely, because I believe I mentioned to you the name Love, Forgive, Live came to me in a dream.
Yes.
And it's powerful, because when you are struggling and trying to figure out what is going on, and the strange thing is, I'm not the only one who feels this. Everybody's feeling it. The only difference is recognizing the pattern.
Right.
And I could recognize it in my consciousness, my awake consciousness. But then when I was able to shut that down and allow beyond that to come through, it showed me and told me this is all there is about. Yes. This is all there is. And if you pay attention, you will notice, because you gotta love yourself first and know who you are.
That's right, Shroda. And that what you shared is so inspiring, because that's true love of yourself. You're listening, you're paying attention, you're honoring what your inner guidance is showing you.
Yes.
There is no more than that. And you know, your listeners, if they feel like they're not there yet, there's always a first step.
Yes.
You know, you just take a first step of paying attention to what you're feeling, honoring what you're feeling, and finding a way to meet that need that's underneath that feeling.
I agree completely. I agree. And that's what the disconnects that people are struggling with. A lot of our brothers and sisters are struggling because they've chosen to stay asleep and not allow, and then because we all get clues. We all get clues.
Absolutely, and I agree with you, Shroda, but I feel like there's another layer, and that is that it is so intense right now. We are so challenged. The old way is dying. So
yes.
I've been working with this for 5 decades, you know, or even
wow.
more. I've been working with this, but even now in these days, I have to consciously shift my vibration. I have to choose the higher frequency. So it's not just a matter of feeling; it's a matter of knowing that that's full on attention.
Yes,
you know, that it can slip by. You can fall into a sadness or depression, or you know, why does it matter? Easily. And we have to, you know, it helps if we just keep the focus and try to lift ourselves every time that happens.
Yes.
It's work.
I agree. It's definitely work. And that work, I feel there's a lot of resistance to that work.
Yes. What is your sense of the resistance?
Yes. Well, sometimes, for me anyways, when I think about it, I think it comes from fear.
Yes.
Fear born out of the traumas we encountered as we started experiencing from this plane, from this planet Earth school. And I think it shocks us. It literally shocks us to disbelief. Like, what? This shouldn't be happening. I'm here to learn. And it's strange because the learning, how are we going to get it?
Yes. Well, and what's your answer to that? What? I'll share mine, but you share yours. What?
I believe the traumas and the difficulties we've experienced is here to teach us, to
That's
learn,
right.
to grow.
Yes. Yes. It's everything is an opportunity. Everything is a fresh step toward becoming who we are, and we can label those as opportunities instead of failures or obstacles or difficulties. They're opportunities.
Yes.
And what you say about the trauma, oh my goodness, that is just absolutely where it's at. We are traumatized from the in utero experience, from the birthing experience, from childhood. It sets up patterns in our nervous system of fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes.
And like you say, they're all based on fear.
Yes.
And what we can do, Shorta, is what I found really helpful is to just come into the present moment and feel the anchor within ourselves, feel that self-love, feel the love of spirit, feel the love of those around us who we have come to truly love and trust.
Yes. Yes, I agree completely. And have you found that when you encounter individuals who are resistant to this, that they start looking for a way to defend the fear?
Yes, and that's okay. You know, I think we all have to filter, do we want to continue in that relationship or not? I mean, one of the main changes in this time is that relationships are changing.
Yes.
We're finding that we no longer resonate. We're no longer at the same frequency. It's like a radio channel. We're no longer at that frequency with that person. And we can bless them. We can bless the relationship we had with them. And we can choose that, you know, I'm operating at a different level.
Yes.
Not better. You know, we're not saying that it's better, but it's a different level.
Yes.
And I'm going to connect with people who support where I'm at. You know, it's very much about choice and discerning and not getting in a battle with somebody. We're not here to change anybody's mind.
No.
You know?
No, by any. We're not even going to try. I don't try.
No, it's not. Yeah, this is a time of sovereignty. We're coming into our own sovereignty. I mean, that's the big picture. We had a monarch who was known around the world. She died. And what's happening is we're coming into being our own queens and kings.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
Yes.
You know, and so if somebody isn't on board with our experience or what we want to share and give, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. And I agree. That's why when I enter into a space where a debate is going on about this and this and that, and I would share this with you. Granted, I was one of those people that I would debate you till I win. And I remember when I was in boarding school, I joined a debate team, and it was like anytime my opponent will know that I'm coming out, I'm the one who they're going against. They're like, crap, she's going to do this, and then growing and evolving taught me I don't need to debate. So when I hear people arguing about this and going on, I usually just observe. And then they say, yes. Why aren't you speaking? I'm like, I have nothing to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it throws people off.
Yes, and there's something called heart resonance. You know, now in this time, we're moving from leading through thought and by our mind into our heart and our feelings, our sensate body. And so in those moments when somebody's saying, why aren't you saying anything? You are impacting them simply through your presence, simply through your open heart, lack of judgment, and just allowing, you know, and that can shift somebody.
And then, of course, those who, my loved ones, go, "You've changed." And I'm like, it's called growing. Growing and evolving. And they're like, "No, you're different." And I'm like, it's called growing. The person I used to be, I've learned and grown, and I'm continuing to grow. And recognizing that I don't have to have the last word, and I don't have to have my voice heard immediately. I can choose to just be present, and maybe now is what I need to do is listen.
Oh, there's so much power in listening. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And the silence, I mean, the gift of silence, that is one of the things that I love the most about life, is the silence.
Yes.
It is so nurturing and informing. If we can just, and many people can't allow for the silence. I mean, the attention span is seconds.
Yes.
And we have to keep going on to the next thing and the next thing. But if we can get ourselves out in nature, if we can just slow down our breathing, if we can just be still for a few minutes,
yes.
Oh my gosh, the benefits.
Yes, you're right. I started learning about being still in my undergrad, and boy, I had a lot of chaos, and I went into the women's center, and they taught me. Thank goodness I was obedient enough to listen and present enough to want the change and to learn. And once I took sitting still becoming an important part of living, it changed my outlook on life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
what I love...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What I love about your story, Shroda, is that your soul guided you and you allowed it. You walked in the dark and you just allowed your highest good, your highest self directed you to walk into that women's center, and you had the humility to let go. Yes.
Yes. Have you recognized, let me ask this question another way. When individuals come to you for assistance, for guidance, do you see the first shift as resistance, or do you see it as denial?
I see it as fear, and it can come up in either of those, depending on the person's persona.
Interesting. And then how do you resonate with the fact that they willingly came to you seeking assistance or guidance?
Yes, they have to be willing, and that's the first step. I'm not forcing anything on anybody. It's an interactive choice.
Yes.
But people are, modern life, people are filled with fear. And so what I do is just hold the space to bear witness, to allow them to take a breath.
Yes.
To just find their safety valve, It's like that is my work, Shroda. I cannot tell anybody anything that they do not already know.
Yes.
My job is to help them calm down enough to go into the darkness and realize that they know.
Yes. And it's funny you said that, because I do the same thing with my clients. Because as a mental health professional or therapist or counselor and coach, what I recognize is that when individuals are resistant to the information, the knowledge, or ideals that they hold, and they're in session, and I see it, I hear it, I recognize it, and I relay it back to them, when they start resisting that, I don't push. I usually guide them and say, okay, we will revisit this one later. I recognize you're not ready to push through this wall. And they go, sometimes some people will tell me, no, it's not a wall. It's just not there. And I'm like, okay. And of course, later on, as sessions progress and they start recognizing their own progress, they lean into that wall and push it without any effort for me.
That's right. That's right.
And then when I smile, they go, what? And I'm like, you did it. You're there. They're like, I'm where? And I'm like, you came to this place by yourself, upon your own volition. Now, do you understand when I said you already had the answer?
Right.
Then they look at me funny. And I said, it's okay. It takes a while to get used to your own inner knowing.
Right. Right.
And my question is this. How do you recognize that an individual is running from themselves? How do you recognize that when they come to you?
I'm not sure that I recognize that it's just that. I mean, I work with astrology, so I see the whole chart, which is I mean, running from oneself is really you're right, it's the backbone or the core of everything. But there's layers, and so I hear what they're saying, and I work through Zoom. I all of my work is remote, virtual, and even through that medium, I feel, my sense of connection or my sense of intuitive connection is body to body. So I can feel in their body where there is resistance. And so I just might suggest, let's breathe through the back of your heart, or wherever I sense that it is. I just say, that great work. Let's just breathe in a little deeper into that, where that tightness is, and then that helps them. And you're absolutely right, Shroda. It's all running from oneself. That's such a scary place to come home. But there's nothing else.
There isn't, and that's the most difficult part of the journey.
Right, and that's where the self-love has to come in, and the self-forgiveness. I mean, we can do it with other people. If we're not doing it with ourselves, it's not really as effective as it can be. Yes.
And that's where I remember questioning that. Why should I have to? Why should I do that? In my younger days, in my search moments, I used to ask those questions. Why should I let them go? And those were the questions I'm like, but they did that, they did this. And you hear people who come to you do so. But did you, in your quest or in your growing, because you've had this inkling since you were a child.
Right.
Did you ever have moments where you felt letting go and forgiving an individual, whether family, friends, or whoever, forgiving them, did you have justification as to why you shouldn't forgive them?
No, maybe early on, and I'm not remembering it, but currently and more recently, I've come to see any reflection as a mirror. So I bring it back to myself.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's like, like everybody listening.
Yes.
And you and I, there have been traumas, horrific traumas.
Yes.
You know, but first of all, I take it as a teaching. I take it as an opportunity, and then I reflect on, you know, how was I not awake to circumvent that, or how, you know, what did I have to learn? You know, what is the teaching in this for me?
Yes.
You know, because we can't, you know, one of my core tendencies is blame. I remember a very early therapist said, "You blame others," and I denied it, but it's true. It's true, and so I'm careful with that. You know, I'm careful with that, and you know, not to go too far off in a tangent, but one of the things that I love and that I've kind of enjoyed over my path is to connect the emotion to the body part.
Yes.
And so blame, you know, and this is in the Eastern traditions like acupuncture or, you know, meridian therapy, all of that. So blaming is gallbladder, and gallbladder is also worry. So it's like there's all of these tangents of clearing the debris.
Yes.
You know, and all of it is not being in the present moment.
Yes. 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 I was speaking to somebody about the saddest part, I think, I feel for our brothers and sisters, that sometimes I'll take it into meditation and focus on that and say, that's my desire, one of my desires for humanity, to be present and recognize that the past is already gone. We can't go and undo it. However, we have a great opportunity presently, right now, to take the lessons, the gifts, the opportunities, and use it for the present moment and ask questions. What is this supposed to bring me to in order for me to evolve to the next level? And how should I make peace with it? And the saddest thing is, I have people coming over and over and over, and they're not in the present. They are constantly reprocessing and reliving the past, and then recreating fears to believe it will be in the future. And I'm like, whoa, so you're jumping over the present and into the future and forgetting the fact that you are here now. You are safe. You can begin to heal the younger self that experienced that. And it dawns on me that they get shocked, like, oh, I didn't think I was living in the past. When a client comes to you, or individuals come to you, and you recognize the past keeps playing, how do you create a piece of acceptance of that and then begin to start in the present?
I work with them through relaxation and through breathing to go into that experience, and I invite them to identify what is the need, what is their need within that experience, what went unmet in that experience, and when they can identify that, then we can look at how that. First of all, we honor that's a legitimate need.
Yes.
You know, and then we go to, well, how can I meet that need now? How can the person, not me, but how can the person get that need met now? And they come up with many ways, you know, and so that untangles the knot.
Yes, and it's brilliant, some of the things they come up with.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do it through a guided imagery process where they feel it. You know, I might have a sense, but it's them. You know, I could say anything, but unless it comes from them, from their inner experience, it's meaningless, basically.
I get what you mean. I recognize a few years ago, a client called me in an emergency because he couldn't breathe. And he's been to the hospital several times with the same symptoms, and they told him it's not a heart attack. So he's like, I'm not going back to the emergency room. My chest is hurting. I'm having a hard time breathing. My fingers are feeling tingly. And then I said, well, you're awfully young, and you're quite active, so let's process. And once we went through the breathing, the guided breathing and imagery, allowing him to hear, and I because I work with water with a lot of people, and I tell them, listen, and they go within. And sometimes I just I tell them, bring a golden light into your mind's eyes, and I tell them, look deep in the middle and focus. Allow that light to engulf you completely. Now look around. You see this, you see that. Now listen to this water. And as simple as this is, they're able to place themselves in that environment immediately. And he was listening, and I said, you can put anything you want into that space. And he did it. And we continue with the breathing and with guided meditation. Within 5 to 10 minutes, he's able to resume his normal breathing pattern. And the tightness in the chest let go. And then I said, listen, I know you may not believe this, but all this because your heart chakra is blocked. You need to release the broken heart you believe you've experienced. Then he's like, oh no, I don't have anything. And I was like, okay. Then what is happening? Oh, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. Your body will take count. What you're not processing in your mind and denial, your body will take count and will give you the signal and say, we need to look at this. This is happening. We can't ignore this. And he's like, yeah, I'm over all that stuff. And I said, okay, we will keep working. But then he's like, yeah, I'm okay now. Wow, this works. But it's a powerful thing.
Yes.
It's a very powerful thing. I was reading somewhere that breathing, in actual fact, is more or less a prayer. Because you are taking in the universe and releasing what you need to release to it. As you breathe in and breathe out.
That's right. That's one of the, if not the primordial pattern of life, that pattern recognition.
Yes.
Are we not letting go enough? So bring it back to the breath. What I love about the story that you shared, Shraddha, is, first of all, your use of color. Those are frequencies, vibrational energies that we don't see, but they're very perceptible and powerful and effective. And water.
Yes.
Of fire, air, water, and earth. Water is the intuition. Water is the flow. So that's brilliant that you're working with those techniques. I
think I may have to come to learn from you, because this is definitely intuition. I haven't taken any training in any color rhythm, but the only thing is that when I meditate, those are what brings me to my highest state. Yes. So that's why color is that's why it's very important, because of my own experience. when I meditate, these are the images that are presented to me. And
what better training is that? The cosmos is teaching you.
Because I don't say yeah, but I remember one of my grandmother was like, "Where'd you learn that?" And I was like, "Grandma, I don't know, but it just came to me." Thank you. Now I want to know this book. What prompted you to write this book?
Oh, watching the change since the 60s, the middle of the 60s is when I started tracking the change to the fifth dimension.
Yes.
And, all of that, what is that? I don't know how many decades, but like 6 decades almost. And seeing how upset people are, and they're not recognizing the pattern.
Yes.
They don't recognize the pattern. They the ways that I see 5D affecting our current living is first of all gender fluidity.
Yes.
In the 60s, men, prior to the 60s, men did not go into the delivery room with their wives or their partners. They did not feed babies. They did not change diapers. They did not play with their children. There was a real divide between masculine and feminine roles. And in the 60s, that changed. Yeah. Men started taking care of their babies.
Yes.
And just look short of how far that shift has happened.
Yes.
Where we have such gender fluidity in our mainstream consciousness now.
Yes.
So that's, and part of 5D is integration of the masculine and feminine. We have to live that.
Yes.
We have to live that, or, we're lost. We can't pay attention to just one side of it. Strong men have to open to their feminine side, and women who feel like they're less than men have to wake up to their power.
Yes.
That's very simply put and crudely put, but there has to be an integration of masculine and feminine, and basically it's giving and receiving. It's that in and out rhythm again.
Yes.
So that's one way. The other way that it happened is the power to the people. And we've seen this more recently. I mean, at the turn of this current century, we had Occupy Wall Street. And that was, there were a lot of grassroots movements up till then, but that was a major one, a global one. And that planted the seeds for Black Lives Matter, for the Me Too movement, for all these movements that are taking away the hierarchy, that are taking away what's hidden and saying this is the truth. Yes. Here on my video, on my camera, on my phone, I have videotaped this, and you can see it. You can't deny it anymore. Yes. So power to the people, dissolving the hierarchy. This is another big change that we have. And then, the other thing is we're living our personal sovereignty, as I mentioned before. We are empowered beings, and we're not looking. All that we've said so far in this conversation, we're looking inside for the answers, not outside. Yes. People might come to, clients might come to you, or they might come to me, but all we're doing is helping them know that they already know. We're just like guides, or holding hands, or walking along with. So it's people living their power, living their sovereignty. Yes. And then the other big change is the care of the earth. The Industrial Revolution tried to imprint on the human consciousness that the body is a machine that has to produce the machine. That's not right. They also tried to imprint that man is over nature. And we see clearly... No.
It's not ours. We are to respect it.
Exactly. Man and nature co-create. So So I saw all of these changes, and people are reacting, responding. They're beside themselves because the ground is pulled out underneath them.
Yes.
And they're not connecting the dots. They're not seeing the pattern that this change is full spectrum.
Yes.
And we can get on board with understanding that it's a quantum leap in human consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had these throughout history. This is the biggest consciousness leap we've ever had in the whole history of human beings.
Yes.
And I really want people to understand how this is all connected and how they're part of it and what their choices are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's how I wrote the book. I mean, for people like you and me who are well versed in this consciousness, new consciousness, there's a ton of information.
Yes.
But for people who are new to the concepts or new to the experience, there's not so much. So my book is a very basic primer, so to speak, or a real concrete information about here are the changes, here's why they're happened, here's a historical perspective,
yes,
you know, and here's what you can do, you know, so that's...
I love that. I love that. Was this, when you were writing this, was this something that you felt pulled to write and share with our brothers and sisters, or was it something that you felt it just has to be done?
Well, isn't that the same thing? I mean, I felt guided. I felt like this is my work now. This is the next piece of the work that I have to do.
Okay.
You know, for my part on the earth, this is my work. You know, and I have to do it. And, you know, nobody else could say it the way that I said it, having bared witness to it for all these decades. I mean, other people can add to the conversation, and that's most invited and welcome.
Yes.
But this is what has come through me through a lived experience.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I seem to recognize more and more that we are all here. We may be taking different paths, different routes to get to this destination that we're getting to. But the strange thing is we're all getting to the same destination in the sense that we are here to create our true purpose and evolve from this physical presence, this physical space. And I understand, you know, some people call it the 3D space. And then share what we came here to impart or imprint into our world. Do so, and then be able to freely evolve into the next plane or the formless.
That's right. That's right. And as you're saying that, I get the sense that people in your audience might feel that they don't know what they have to create.
Yes.
And that is the whole experience of 5D. I'll share with you that there was a paradigm change. The paradigm used to be time is money.
Yes.
The new paradigm is time is art.
Yes.
And so listeners who might feel that they don't really know what is theirs to create, if they just relax and be open to what their inner wisdom, their intuition, their desire, their heart's desire wants to offer, that will be the thing.
Yes.
That's their thing, you know, and there's no label on what it can be to create. It can be keeping a lovely house, making a family that's thriving and where children grow. It doesn't have to be writing a book or seeing clients. It's what is in your heart to add to the beauty of life.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that. I think a few weeks ago I had a dream, and I'm sure my audience, they're used to me talking about dreams because I'm an avid dreamer and I'm always writing them and then to recognize patterns, because for me patterns are very important to me. And through dreams I get messages and I write them, and then I try to watch and see where it's going. But in this dream I was taken by a guide who took me into this great hall. The walls and the pillars were so high, there's nothing on this planet that could ever equal how high and how wide and vast the walls and the pillars were. So we walk in there. The door, I felt like I was a thumb when we went through the door. And this guide was extremely tall, and I felt like I was practically at his ankle. And we walk in there, and then I'm like, whoa, I see this beautiful tapestry. But the strange thing about the tapestry, it was so long and so high up. I couldn't see the end of it. But it's bright, very vibrant, beautiful colors. And then I was gravitating to it. I felt pulled to that wall. And I was like, oh, wow, tell me about this. Then he's like, that's not why I brought you in here. And I said, but it's so beautiful, it's so bright, but it's alive. It seems like it's moving. It's breathing or something. It's alive. And I wanted to be, go towards how beautiful this. And I know I'm saying this with such excitement because that's how it felt to me in this dream, and it felt real. So I said, but it's so beautiful, and it has energy, and it's moving, but it's a flow in energy. Then he said, everyone is contributing to this, all of humanity. But that's not what I brought you in here for. And I was like, but? And he's like, no. And he said, turn around. So I turn around, and I see another wall. And it has this, it looks like the words that I could use to describe this is like a shadow box or a shadow box. How you have some shadow boxes that have been framed. Well, this shadow box wall was in this wall and poking out, and it's got figures in it that looks like mangled individuals in like rock form, but there were different colors, but not colors that will make you happy. And they're mangled and stuck in there. And then I was like, oh, I don't like that wall. There's pain. There's despair. There's stuck. There's anger. There's rage. There's a lot of fear and darkness. I don't want that wall. He said, that's what I brought you here for. And I was like, why? And he said, this is the work.
Oh.
Your brothers and sisters, they're stuck. And this is how it feels like. Unstuck them so they can work towards that wall that you felt so happy and drawn to. He said,
yes,
do that. There are several of you. You're all working towards unstuck your brothers and sisters. Release. This is where your work is. Pay attention. Too many are stuck in this space. But they don't realize the power is within them to believe and shift so they can move towards this wall where it's evolving and it's life. So I was like, really? He's like, yes. That's where you're needed. And so I wrote it all down. It's still in my dream journal. And I was like, whoa. All day when I got up, I couldn't shake the sadness that I saw in that wall. And so I did my moments of prayer and meditation. And then it dawned on me that it's a big task for all of us to do. So I started asking the questions. How do we do this without being affected that we haven't done enough? And that's the same question I'll ask you. How do we do this work? And how do you do this work and not be affected with the thought that you haven't done enough?
Shraddha, thank you for asking that question and for sharing that beautiful, powerful dream. That is phenomenal. Just such a gift that you have these dreams that are so clear and informative. What a blessing.
Thank you.
And to answer your question, I feel for people like you and me and others who are acknowledging that we have this work to do, is to not be focused on the outcome, and that's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
All we can do is show up and give what we have to give in the purest, highest, freest place without ego.
Yes.
And just give and then move on. You know, just keep breathing, keep the flow of the in and out breath going. So not attached to outcome. And one of the guiding lights for me that I found is this treasure of a saying from Tibetan Buddhism, and that, you know, they were talking about, or somebody asked a Tibetan Buddhist teacher about the suffering and being overwhelmed by the suffering, and this teacher said, "It is enough to make a wish."
Short.
Yes, and so we're approaching this work from the energetic level. You're using color, you're using water, you're using intuition, all of those things that are from in the non-visible world, and this is all energy. And that's what I was referring to before when people say, "Why aren't you saying something?" It's you simply standing there. They feel your heart resonance. They feel the invitation to open up and let go of judgment.
Yes.
So it's being in the heart and not in the mind, because, you know, our mind can get trapped in all of that agony and all of that ugliness and sorrow and just horrible situations.
Yes.
But if we come back into our heart, and if we feel, love always wins, you know.
Yes,
that's your
absolutely.
Love always wins.
Yes.
So it's those kinds of things, you know.
And I appreciate you sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. And definitely, you said something a few minutes back about the existence of the masculine energy and the female energy, or the feminine energy. It dawned on me, actually, it was this week that I actually finally got it. And I'm not embarrassed to say this, but I got it finally. That we always, no matter who we are, our partners are, who we're with, the masculine and the feminine energy always operate together.
Yes, absolutely.
They have to be present. It doesn't matter. It's not about gender.
Right, exactly.
It's not about that. It's about the masculine energy and the feminine energy.
Right. And my take on this, I like a big picture take on things. And so my take is on the historical perspective that there was a matriarchy. Well before the current patriarchy, there was a matriarchy where women ruled the world. This was the time of the goddesses. This was, you know, there were matrilineal traditions everywhere, not just a few, but everywhere. So it was like an eon or an era or a giant timeline where there was a matriarchy.
Yes.
And then came the patriarchy. And we know what we have with that, and that is dying, that is ending.
Yes. Now we are recognizing the importance of both, that we are.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now is the time of this integration of the masculine and the feminine.
Yes.
And to be fully functioning, you know, like that is my personal challenge in my business. It's like I'm again away from gender, but just in trait, I'm super receptive, feminine. I need to bring more action, you know, and maybe you have a similar, or, you know, a story of your own like that. So we have to bring the masculine and the feminine integration
Yes.
within our being.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with it. And that's the sad thing that I hear some people say, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, you're denying yourself. You're denying yourself in all this.
Isn't that true? That is so true.
And I go, And they look at me funny, and, of course, knowing how I handle things, I just stay quiet, and I'm like, and I just say, okay. And then, of course, why did you just say that? And I'm like, no, I have nothing else to say, so I say, okay. And then, of course, the stirring within them, and I'm like, I didn't say anything.
Yes, exactly.
They begin to stir and stir and stir, and I'm like, wow, I didn't say anything. I just stay quiet. What? I stopped talking. But yeah, it is so powerful, and recognizing that, I think we will find life a little bit easier.
Right.
A little bit easier, and not be so hung up on anything. And it's unfortunate, because when that's happening, our ego wants you to take one. Our ego will push and push and try to write your script to fit its agenda, unless you're able to recognize ego's plan and ego's operating system. You fall. You fall prey to ego. And the strangest thing is, every time we fall prey to ego, we later on look back and say, why did we do that?
Well, it's so easy to do, and it is part of life, and we do need a healthy ego to, to set our boundaries and to know our preferences. But what you're talking about with your podcast and your work is coming from the higher frequency, the higher consciousness that goes beyond ego, and that's what where our focus is, and our longing is to come from that place where we can love unconditionally.
Yes. And that unconditional love, honestly, it's an interesting conversation, because people get hung up on the fact that you shouldn't love anybody unconditionally. It shouldn't be. And I'm like, well, yes, it should. Have you noticed that when your clients come, or individuals come that you've encountered, both personally and professionally, come and then you speak of the unconditional love, it sometimes seems like a foreign concept that you need to explain?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But everybody, every being on earth, every heartbeat, even every animal knows that unconditional love.
Yes.
It's a natural state. It's an organic human soul experience.
Yes.
It's natural to us.
Yes.
It's this dross or this confusion of where ego matters, or where we come from ego. That's where we get entangled, and we lose our footing. But so even though somebody might be new to the concept, they, in their inner being, their soul and their spirit level, they know it.
Yes. That's why I strongly believe, if we didn't already resonate with this unconditional love and know it already, then why would we be so traumatized when things happen? It's because that's where we come from. We come from that.
Yes.
And that's our original state. That's our being. And that's why we seek that. That's why when it's shifted a little bit, or not even a shift, when something challenges that and makes us question that, that's why we have this yearning and the fear and the this trauma, because we are beings that recognize this unconditional. We've already been that.
Yes. Shraddha, that is brilliant. That is just brilliant.
Thank you. And that's the pattern I continue to impart on all our brothers and sisters, to start recognizing, just recognize that the reason why we are so angry, some of us are so angry and feeling left, is because we know that unconditional love so well.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. I love that.
And so now it's a return to that. Sorry.
Yeah, well, this has been such an incredible conversation. I feel like we could talk for days.
Yes, yes.
You and I.
Well, you know what? Yes, I know you're a busy person and I'm busy too. So here's what I'll do. This last question I'm going to ask you, because I think people think we are, we just got all the answers. No, we didn't just fall into the answers. But knowing this, what you know now, and the wisdom you've come into, if you had anything or any advice, knowledge, wisdom, or situation to pass on to your younger self, what would that be?
What a brilliant question, Shraddha. I would, first of all, I would hug that younger self. I would just hug her and hold her and make her feel safe. And my heart message to her is to just keep going. That she will make mistakes, serious mistakes, wrong turns.
Yes.
And everything is a learning experience. Everything is a step forward. And to just keep going. Keep going.
I love that. Thank you so much. Now, please share that. How do we find you? In case our audience said, oh my goodness, I want to reach her. I want to see how, I want to be able to have her do my astrological chart. I want her to have a moment with her. I want to talk to her. How does she, maybe there's something I'm missing. If she could teach me how to, or show me how to connect with what I'm not connecting with, in order to stop the discourse I'm having within myself. What would that, how would they meet you?
What a lovely invitation, Shraddha. Thank you so much. The easiest way is to go to my website,
yes,
which is aurealwilliams.com. That's AUREAL Williams.com. And there they can find out ways that they can work with me. They can find my email address, and if they want to have a conversation before we engage in work, I have a calendar appointment link that I can send to them. I have a free blog, an email list where I post every week, and they can sign up for that email list. And then my book is also available for purchase on my homepage.
Good.
So thank you for helping me spread the word of my work. I'm thrilled with our connection. We are sisters. As
yes,
you said at
definitely. Yes, we are sisters, because I am very proud of your work, and knowing that you're all part of the family that are on a quest to share the teachings and the wisdom or the guidance that we've been given, to share that with our brothers and sisters, and also allow them to stay on their path and reconnect with the family of guides.
Beautiful. Yes.
And that, I believe, is a powerful thing, because I started this podcast not knowing what I was going to get or what is going to happen. I just knew that Nobody, people around me, people who said they knew me or loved me, didn't know me. And every time I would speak, they, I would get, "You're weird." And I'm like, well, that's good.
Yes. Absolutely.
That tells me I'm on the right path. They're like, "You're even more weird." And I'm like, okay. So this was a great place to connect with my brothers and sisters who can resonate, because for a while I thought I was all alone. I thought I was an anomaly. And through this podcast, I'm learning. And, of course, the first time we spoke, I probably squealed like a little girl, because I'm intensely excited when I meet my brothers and sisters, when I connect. And something vibrationally happens where I honestly feel it within my whole being that I have met a sister and I have met a brother, because I felt for the longest time I was alone and thought, I remember even, like I said, I've said it on this podcast many times, speaking to one of my professors, and I said, I think that maybe there's something wrong with me. And he's like, "What do you say so?" And then explaining to him, and he's like, "That's good." And he said, "Your weirdness is your unique self. Don't ever change it, because that has everything to do with what you came to do here, with your calling. Don't ever forget that." And that for you, I'm blessed to have met you. I'm blessed to have connected with you. And I feel infinitely wiser by learning, and speaking with you has even taught me things about me that I didn't know I know. So I am very appreciative of your work, and I can't wait to connect with you again, and then see what is in store for my future, or for my present moment, or that I'm not connecting to. You never know, because with our work, they always say we can't heal ourselves. We have to work with one another, because maybe there's something that we all, missing, that we are not. So when we speak to another sister, the sister can see and be like, "Oh, I saw this. Did you recognize this?" And I'll be like, "Oh, touche. I didn't know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now I know what to work on."
Yes, absolutely. And I am so enriched by our connection as well, Shroda. I'm thrilled to meet you. I feel the beauty and the power and the brilliance in your heart, and I'm just very grateful for this connection. So thank you so much
for taking time out of your day to meet us. And then I will definitely send you a copy of this, especially on the date that this will be airing, and then so you can spread it around with your audience and with your clients and everybody. And I am blessed. So thank you so much. Be blessed, and may your quest continue to flourish. And I want to definitely, we will definitely meet in person one day. I don't know when, but it'll happen.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye. Have an amazing week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, audience. Thank you so much. We had an amazing interview with Miss Aureal Williams. It's amazing to continue to grow in this space and know that there are people who are on the same quest to unite and connect with all of humanity, and know that our thread that binds us, this beautiful thread that binds us together, maybe not use the word bind, that connects us together as brother and sister, that we are working for one thing: to love one another, love ourselves, and love one another, and be connected, knowing that we are not alone, and you are not alone. Thank you once again for joining me on Love, Forgive, Live podcast. I will be back again next week. I think, believe me, from now on today on is going to become consistent, where I'll be doing coming and doing the podcast every week. I was doing it consistently for a while, and things got a little crazy because of life and a lot of changes with family and trying to connect with everybody. And then, of course, then when I got the COVID, it took me out for a while, and it took some time for me to get back. But starting from now, I'll be doing the podcast every week, so you're not left with nothing. Thanks again. And my music is not playing. I don't know why. So today we are not going to have that. But I'll be back next week. Those of you who want to contact me or send me an email me at love, L-U-V, the number 4, give, G-I-V-E, live, L-I-V as in Victor, E, at gmail.com. Once again, the address or the email address is LUV, the number 4, give, live, at gmail.com. And my name is Sroda Aglago. Have an amazing weekend, an amazing week. I will be back and we will connect again next week. Take care. And of course, be good to one another. Okay? And I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.